Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Cardiff City World. We're here for the Thursday night debate where we pick a range of topics and we discuss the ins and outs of them. We have a little debate, a little discussion, play a bit of devil's advocate, look at it from all angles. We'll be talking, of course, last night's game. City linked with two strikers, with Ruben Colwill not in Craig Bellamy's first squad. Everyone getting very upset about that. But if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. And a whole lot more. As always, I am joined by the one and only, the Greek Leak, also known as Pan. How are you, mate? You good?
Yeah, not too bad, Si. Yeah, enjoyed the game last night, although it was a defeat. But it was nice to see the youngsters out, scoring a few goals.
Indeed, mate. Indeed. Yeah, I thought all of them did a real good job. Some of them obviously really stood out. Some of them just did okay. But I thought it was a really beneficial exercise. I thought Ruben Colwill and Alex Robertson in particular were excellent for the whole time they were on the pitch. But I also thought Raheem Conte struggled a little bit in the first half. And I said to a friend of mine, I said, I think he's better at fullback. And then second half, he really was a massive part of us playing a lot better. And I thought we pinned Southampton back a lot in the second half. And I thought for a young team, because Southampton had a young team as well, but they had some experience. They had some real established players come on as well, like the likes of Bella Kocher and Lallana. Like these are seasoned Premier League players. And really, apart from Gutas, the rest of ours were, Gutas and Rinamoto, everyone else was 22 and under, I believe. So
yeah.
I think it says a lot about the job that Darren Pearce and Gavin Chesterfield are doing, that so many players were able to step up to that sort of level. But they didn't just make up the numbers. I thought they really did a good job. We played some lovely football. We pressed well. What did you make of it, mate? Because I want to make a point about Ruben Colwill in the press in a minute, but I will let you.
Yeah, I was the same as you, Si. I was a little bit, worried about last night's game, only because once I saw the team, I didn't expect him to make 11 changes. I don't know why. I suppose it makes common sense. We got to find out about these young players in it. But with a team like in the Premier League, Southampton, even though they've struggled, they haven't won yet. Their reserves, as they so call it, they're worth a fortune. So I was like, I hope we don't get battered 5-0. But after the first goal went in, I was getting nervous, and then we settled down. And like you said, Colwill and Robertson were the outstanding players, but Reindorf played well. He's got a lot of potential, hasn't he? He made a few mistakes, offside a few times. But as you said, Conte in the second half was tremendous as a right back. So there was a lot of positive signs there, Si. And as you said, 90 minutes gone, it was 3-3. Fantastic game of football. We were always playing capture. But the point is, it showed a lot of character from young players to keep on coming back. When you go down against a Premier League club, you could easily just fold. For young players with lack of experience, it was a really good workout. I think Isaac Jeffries had a shot or someone just wide the post, some cracking shots. And I thought, like you said, Alnwick, he had an opportunity, didn't he? And I think to get beaten by those shots, one or two of them, I thought, really, like I said, they were some good shots, but I just say, well, he didn't put his hand up to the last night.
No, it was a big missed opportunity for him, mate, because if he had a blinder last night, the clamour for him to start the league game is even more. And interestingly, mate, I've been told by two little birdies today, completely separate of each other, that we are in the market for a goalkeeper before the window closes, probably on loan, who, whether that comes to fruition, I don't think it's top of our list. I think it's just maybe they're contemplating it on, and you can't blame him, mate, really. Alnwick didn't take his opportunity last night, and I get it's one game. I didn't think he was horrendous. I just thought it was a bit of a missed opportunity from him personally. Howveth just looks so nervy on the ball, and just looks generally unconvincing at the moment, probably down to confidence. But it's certainly an issue. But I think there's other more pressing issues. We certainly need a striker in. Looks like, Simic is coming in, isn't he? But he's going straight back out on loan. I know where the reason he's going out on loan is that we're bringing someone else in as well. But the thing which is interesting to me, mate, on the Simic one, which we'll come back to it in a minute, but it's interesting, is Sunderland wanted him and they were going to play him. Now, Sunderland currently sit top of the Championship, and I'm sure would be very, very disappointed come the end of the season if they're not in the playoffs at least.
Yeah.
And they're looking to play him, but why are we looking to loan him out? The only reason I can think of is that the other striker we're bringing in is expecting to start.
Yeah.
And it's a loan, so he's only going to be here a year. So they're sending Simic over to Belgium to play, score goals, and then come in and be the main guy, because the people who I spoke to today said like Simic is the future number 9 of this football club. So it's a real interesting one. Just very quickly, mate, go back to the game last night. What I found really interesting, particularly in the first half, obviously Ruben went off about the hour mark, didn't he? But in the first half, our out of possession shape was really interesting. It was like a 4-4-2 effectively, with Ruben and Reindorf as the two. And I think most people would expect in that sort of shape, because it's not formation shape, out of possession, that Reindorf would be the trigger for the press. He'd be the one that would be chasing everything. And then Ruben would be filling in the spaces behind him when it breaks down. But Ruben was the trigger point last night. So only when Ruben pressed did everyone go with him. If Reindorf went, they kind of just filled the space, marked passing lanes and things like that. And I found that really interesting, because one of the things I discussed last year was obviously Errol Bullitt saying that Ruben needed to work harder off the ball. Now, everyone assumed he meant work harder defensively off the ball. But I just wonder whether actually he wants him, because of his size and his speed. Like, Ruben is very deceptive because he's so big. I don't think teams expect him to be so quick. It's particularly in that first sort of 5 yards. And I think you can catch teams out with that. And I just wonder whether he wants, in his out of possession sort of shape, he wants Ruben to be the guy who's going to try and win the ball in the, like, when teams are playing out at the back. And then he wants, obviously, if you've got like a Robinson or a Tanner or Willock, whoever with him, then of course. But all that goes out the window if he keeps playing Ramsey in the 10 and Ruben's on the bench. So I just thought it was a really, like the tactical side interests me anyway, but I just thought it was interesting because one of the things that stood out about Reindorf was his pressing. In his 2 appearances. He's been really good at working and chasing the ball down, but he was almost secondary behind Ruben in that press a lot of the time. Ruben Colwill, mate. So I kind of addressed this a little bit yesterday in the late night show I did. People were very upset that Ruben wasn't in the Wales squad, and I understand it, and I think we all agree he should be in that Wales squad, certainly ahead of 1 or 2 who are in it. But there's a few different aspects to it. So one, they want Lewis Kumas capped. That's why he's in there, because otherwise he'd be in the 21s for the same reason that Ruben's in there. Like, Ruben is in the 21s because they're on the brink of qualification, and I think they want him to, he's been he's been the main player in that qualification period. Like, he's been the star man. So to take him out now when they on the brink of, like, and it'll be a historic qualification for the 21s. So I do understand it. From what I gather, he's on board with it as well. He's been spoken to by, Craig Bellamy and the rest of them. It wasn't just he was left out and, you're in the 21s. I think it was discussed with him. Obviously, he's 22, but he qualifies because he was 21 he qualified for the 21s when the qualification period started. So I do understand why people were a bit like, oh, why isn't he in the squad? But I think when you break it down a little bit, it does make sense, and he will be in that Wales squad. As soon as the 21s are done, he's going to be up with the Wales squad. I wouldn't even be surprised if he does a bit of double duty, to be honest, mate. Depending on, like Daniel James has dropped out through injury straight away, so it might be that they have him, doing a bit of both. I don't know, but I just think It's an interesting one because he should be in the first with the first team, but when you're on the brink of history, do you want to take out your star man? But then you could say the same about Lewis Koumas. Like if you play devil's advocate, they need Lewis Koumas in there as well to make sure. But I don't know. What do you think about it?
Well, I found out, Si, on the interview that Craig Bellamy gave the day before yesterday, that he actually snubbed him. And what happened was, he was asked specifically, was he restricted on how many under-21 players he was allowed to pick? And he specifically answered no. So basically what's happened is he's picked Beck and he's picked Koumas and he's left out Colwill. And he's done that because he didn't rate him above some of the strikers we've got. And that really is a snub. I mean, if you look at it, Cullen, for example, is an average striker. I know we're Cardiff City. Ollie Cooper, for example, is a Swansea player, and I really rate him in the midfield. But Cullen, I don't rate. And how Colwill, isn't in the senior squad, I do not know. If you look at, when I've seen the under-21s, I went down to the Lithuania game where Koumas scored. Colwill was the man of the match. He was the outstanding player. He's way above under-21 level. He's on a different planet. He's on a different planet. His physique, his play, everything. But fair dues to him for going for, playing in the under-21s. A lot of players would refuse, because he is way above that level. But Bellamy has actually said that he would have picked as many under-21s as he wanted. So in effect, he snubbed him. And, as a result of Dan James' injury, I mean, obviously he's a midfield player. So, whether Colwill tends to go in as the forwards. So whether they'll replace Dan James now with Colwill is an interesting one. But I just think it's a slap in the face for Ruben because he's played nearly 100 games at Cardiff City. He's scored 5 goals in 9 games under 21. He nearly made 10 appearances for Wales, scored against Belgium. I don't know what Bellamy, why he hasn't picked him. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me, Si. And like I said, I've been a big critic of Ruben pre-March, as I've said to you before. He wasn't doing a number of things, working hard, etc. But he has really stepped up. And yes, he can improve his shooting. All players can improve. But yeah, it transpired that Bellamy's actually said he would have picked anyone from that under-21 that he wanted, but he hasn't. So I was absolutely pig sick when he didn't pick him.
Do you know what I say, mate? I've said this a couple of times recently. Is managers' press conferences? Can't believe a word they say. They're full of shit. Because they'll tell whatever tale they want. However, what I would say with that is it doesn't really benefit him to say that if it's not factually true. But I think the way it was told to me that they want him in the 21s just for this couple of games, it does make sense to me. The only thing which I was a bit like, and even the added bit of Koumas being capped, so because he's still eligible for England, that makes sense to me as well. But then I was like you say, like Cullen, average, really average, and I just think, at the end of the day, though, mate, I was going to say is, if Ruben has been spoken to by whether it be Craig or one of the coaching staff or whoever, where there's someone within the setup and it's been kind of discussed, so he knew ahead of time, right, I'm going to be with the 21s, then I think it's fine. If he's been left out with no explanation, I think that's more of an issue. However, to play devil's advocate, who was it? Someone just said in the chat, I can't see who it is at the moment, but he's not being selected for Cardiff regularly. So there is that side of it as well. Now, is that enough? I don't know. Cullen plays week in, week out for Swansea.
But that argument doesn't wash because Rabi Matonda is always in and out of Rangers. Doesn't play. He's inconsistent. All Rangers fans, majority of Rangers fans want him out. He doesn't score enough. He doesn't. His passing is poor. They're trying to ship him out ASAP. He hasn't performed, Si. And I know Bellamy likes Rabi Matonda, but that's what I'm saying.
Well, this is the weird thing, isn't it? As well, sorry, mate, to interrupt you. Like Craig is a big fan of Ruben, Rabi Matondo, Isaac Davis, and Ollie Cooper. Like, I know he's a real big fan of all 4. So it does seem a bit of an odd one. I also noticed Joel Colwell's not in the 21s either, which I thought was really weird. But so I don't know if he's picked up an injury or something like that, because he's been quite a big part of the 21s going over the last couple of,
I think the 21 midfield is quite strong. I mean, Charlie Crew, Charlie Savage.
No, yeah, of course.
Is there. And obviously Finn Stevens, who dropped down from the senior squad, he's in defence. So they're pretty strong in the midfield side. But as I said, when I saw the interview, I thought, why say that? If you're going to come out and say, I can pick as many under 21s as I wanted. So I told Matty Jones, the under 21 coach, if I wanted 5, 6, 7, Matty Jones said, no problem at all. It wasn't an issue about this under 21 qualification, because, he will pick. As the under 21s, in all due respect, are there for the seniors. But obviously, we're on the verge of qualifying. But the big picture is we've got to have our best team, because if we do well in these Nations League matches, then obviously that helps us with the seeding. So I was just really annoyed about it, because I just think Ruben Colwill, when you look at some of the other strikers, I'm not saying he's not playing with Cardiff City week in, week out. That's fair enough. But you can't have that argument if 2 or 3 other strikers are doing the same. So it was something that I think City fans were shocked about, because of some of the other guys who were in that forward line.
Yeah, I agree, mate.
I mean, Mark Harris, for example, you say well done to him. He achieved everything he could in League One. Obviously, Cardiff felt he wasn't good enough for us. That's why he left. So he's gone to League One, done really well, and then he stepped up to the Championship and he scored 3 and 3. So you can't knock the guy. And his goal the other day was 30-odd yards. So and he's playing as a 9 for Oxford. He wouldn't be playing for a 9 for City. So I think.
On that, mate, it's a bit of a question for you as well. I agree with you, by the way. Mark Harris does deserve a lot of credit for the way he's gone about his business since he left Cardiff. He's made himself undeniable at that, at the level that he's been playing at. And that's all you can do, is when you get snubbed, is make yourself undeniable in training, in matches, in the way you conduct yourself, your performances, everything. But the interesting thing with Mark Harris is I think it opens up a very interesting discussion for us as Cardiff fans. We have got a crop of youngsters coming through now who I think many would argue there's probably 4 or 5 of them who are almost ready to play first-team football, certainly ready to be used off the bench at the very least at first-team football. And I've got a bit of an inkling by the signings that we're making and we've made, the majority, if not all, will either be on loan or the 23s. And I think one thing that Cardiff can be criticised for probably over the last 10 years is when we have a talented youngster, we take too long to give them game time, to give them an opportunity in the first team. You look at last year, those youngsters, Raheem Conte, Giles, Joel Colwell, who else was it? There was someone else as well. But all those youngsters who played at the end of the season, that's it, Kean, that they all did really well at the end of the season and put their hat in the ring, but they should have been playing 5 games before that. There was games where they should have been used off the bench. There was games where they should have been playing as soon as we were safe. They should have been playing in the home games. And my worry is that we're going to have this beautiful academy. We're producing the players, but because there's so much pressure on the manager to produce and get promotion and things like this, that we're not going to give them the first team opportunities, and they're going to end up going on loan, and eventually, they'll go elsewhere, mate. Yeah,
and I think I agree with that. Problematic. The other thing is with Warnock, it was completely the other way, wasn't it? We never had any of the youngsters. He just put in the.
But he wouldn't have used them anyway, would he?
Well, no, he wouldn't have used them. But I think we've got a different philosophy now. I agree with you. But I do think like players like Capaccio, you've got to develop them in a certain way, haven't you? They've got to get some experience. It's like Eli King. I think going out alone again isn't a bad shout. But people like Louis Giles, young player. Personally, Conte for me should be, that's if it was me, I know MG's there, but I would play him right back. And I would play Colwell as well.
Sorry, mate, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm thinking as you're saying, with Conte, the point I've been making over the last week or so really is, or probably a couple of weeks, is one of the main reasons I wouldn't loan him is if you look at the bench, the way you set up a bench, you want players who can you need to cover every position on the pitch, but you also want to have options creatively and aggressively and to close games out. So if you're Cardiff, if you can have a sub keeper, a sub centre back, and then Raheem Conte, who can play both full back sides, midfield and wing, what that allows you to do is you have, say, a Joe Rawls then to be your sort of your more defensive midfield outlet, and then all of your other subs can be wingers, attacking midfielders, strikers, creative outlets.
Yeah.
So that if you need a goal, you've got El Ghazi, you can put Reindorf on there without worrying that you're going to leave yourself short. Now, because you look at all the most successful teams over the years, mate, at the very top level or the bottom level, do you know one thing they have in common? They've all got at least one utility player who can play about 7 different positions. John O'Shea, Wes Brown, who was the guy? There was a guy from Arsenal. Phil Neville's. They're important players, mate. They're not the the glitz and the glamour, but Raheem Conte can play fullback good enough to play at championship level. Maybe he can't do 90 minutes week in, week out, but he could do half here, 20 minutes there, and he can do it at a decent level. He can play on the wing. He played at midfield coming up as a kid or a teenager. So it doesn't make sense to me to loan him particularly. And then do you know what's weird? I actually think that out of all of them, the one he might keep is Pacquiao. I've heard that he's a really big fan of him. And I thought what Pacquiao did last night, which was one of the things that I think when people have looked at him overall has been, is he defensively ready? Is he physically mature enough to do the defensive side as an out-and-out fullback in the championship? And I thought last night what he did is he showed, actually, he can read the game, he can use his body to get across the winger, and he played against a real good winger last night, and he was very, very good defensively. We know what he can do going forward. And I think he's the one who's going to end up staying, mate. I think Conte will go on loan. I think Bagan will stay with the first team because he can do a couple of positions. And I think Giles probably goes because he's probably 12 months off in terms of really challenging. Even though if it was me, I'd probably go the other way and I'd keep Conte, Pacquiao, and Giles, and I'd play wing backs. But I don't have that discussion again. It's interesting, mate, because Cardiff squad's strong now. I think on paper.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you totally about Conte. I mean, I just don't get it, Si, if that's true that they're looking to send him out on loan, because to me, he's ready to rock and roll, in terms of the squad. And as you said, he covers a number of positions. So I just don't get that one. I mean, personally, I've said for a few weeks now, we need a left back. I mean, Collins is out for a few more weeks. I like O'Dowda as a winger. I don't like him in that position. I'm not trying to say he's a poor player. I just think we need a genuine left back, or someone in that position. O'Dowda can play further forward. Because the reports out lately is that Tanner, I don't know if you saw the reports today, the manager said he's put on a few pounds, so he's carrying a bit of weight. And obviously that's another concern. You've got a player who's a professional. He come in the club, he spent a year getting fit and getting stronger. He wasn't, obviously when he come from Lewes. But to hear that as well from the manager is a bit worrying. I mean, obviously he was outstanding when he came on. And that's probably why a lot of fans like myself say Tanner's more of a super sub, because don't start him. When he starts him, he just doesn't seem to perform. Bring him on with 20 minutes to go and he might might get that cross in or score a goal. But at the moment, he reminds me of when I was a kid. David Fairclough used to be the super sub at Liverpool and he was fantastic, and I don't want Tanner to become that type of player. But yeah, Conte for me should be there.
Yeah, I think with Ollie Tanner, mate, as well, is there's something to be said for when the game opens up a little bit in the second half and defenders are tired, having a direct and pacey winger is always a good option. But I do worry. I always said, if we brought Casey McAteer in, which from all I'm hearing now, it looks like he might go elsewhere. I don't know whether that's because we've pulled out or whether he's decided to go elsewhere. But I always felt like if we did get him on loan, which was definitely there was definitely on the cards, I struggled to see where, when Al Ghazi was fit, you had Willock, El Ghazi, O'Dowda, and Casey McAteer, which would all be in front of Mate and Tanner. So you struggle to see where they're at game time. Similar with Gutas, mate. I struggle to see now. Now we're out of the EFL Cup. I can't really see where Gutas is going to play. Unless we do switch to a 3 and he kind of rotates one of them in, because Fish is not quite up to it yet. Like, Darlin's going to start.
Yeah.
And Chambers is going to start. And then when Will Fish comes in, he's going to be expecting to start. So it's good to have depth. And I think what we've done well in this window is we've brought in a couple of experienced players. But what we've also done is we brought some legs to the game. Darland, Fish, Robertson, all real good age profiles, give us a bit more athleticism and a bit more pace. I was really impressed with Darland. What did you make of his debut, mate?
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. I thought he was so assured on the ball side. What little Cruyff turn he did in the box. Everyone went wow. So he had a little couple of sticky moments, but what you expect in a big game like that. But he looks composed. He looks class, doesn't he? He looks like he is a class act, and he's a step up. He's a step up on Gutas without question.
Well, he looked at everything which Gutas is not, didn't he? He looked composed. Right. He looked defensively aware of what was around him. He was good on the ball. Like, Gutas is actually pretty good on the ball, but Darlin just looked like the next level up, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And Gutas on the game against Southampton side, he did that thing again of falling over. He's got. Like I said, I studied all the defeats we had at home last season. The amount of times he's off his feet, it's just poor. It's all about knowing when to do something, and he just doesn't seem to. I think he's lost confidence, like the goalkeeper. I mean, the goalkeeper for us against Swansea. You looked at his face, and he looked scared stiff, didn't he, Si?
He really looked like he was going to cry.
Yeah, so nervous, and I was like, "Oh my God," And as much as I backed him, and as I said, you can't criticise him for the goal that was conceded. He saved it; it was a good save.
Well, actually, the goal.
Yeah, I was going to say O'Dowda should have been closer to Cullen. Yeah. He didn't react. But the point is that every time that ball went back to him. Oh, we were so nervous, and he just, like you said before, getting that other keeper, because Alnwick is a natural at playing the ball out, isn't he? He's so brilliant.
Yes.
He's brilliant. 60-yard passes, and he's a lot better than Harworth for doing that. But it's a real concern for me at the moment because, like you said, we're playing from the back, and every time he gets the ball, we're now like, oh my God, he's under pressure. He's going to kick it to them. He's not going to kick it to one of our players. He's not naturally gifted, is he, in that role?
No. And do you know what's confusing to me, mate, is a manager who wants to play out from the back and who wants to play a possession-based football. He also wants his goalkeeper to become part of the outfield play, and he wants to play through other teams' press. So it doesn't add up to me why he sticks with Harworth or why he picks Harworth. Because out of the 2 keepers we've got, or the 3 if you include the youngsters, the most suited to the way Errol Bullock wants to play is Jack Alnwick. Now, say what you will, if one's better than the other at shot stopping, I don't think there's a lot in it in that respect. But Jack Alnwick is most definitely better with his feet. So it doesn't make sense to me why, other than it's a bit stubbornness, he brought Harworth in to be his guy. And, maybe he's trying to show him a bit of loyalty, get him through a sticky patch. But he wasn't great last year, in fairness. I thought last year his distribution was disappointing, but the rest of his game was all right. Whereas this year, his distribution looks poor, and the rest of his game doesn't look great either. Like, he's dropping crosses. He made a good save for that goal. And actually, I was going to say about the goal against the Jacks was it's not Callum O'Dowda's fault, but it's the fault of the fact that he got a winger at left back that goal happens because he's not programmed from a young age to react to, defensively. Like his mindset is offensively. So he didn't have that natural reaction to get the rebound and get his body across the Cullen because a defender like Collins, his first, as that shot came across, and as Halverth is diving, Collins would have been getting his arm across Cullen, so that if it came out, he could have held him off. But that wasn't O'Dowda's natural reaction, and that's not O'Dowda's fault. That's just And like Roberts just said there, I noticed Halverth slapping his face, and it seemed to want to wake himself up. I think he's going through a bit of I don't want to say like use that particular term, but he's definitely feeling the pressure. And to me, regardless of whether you think Jack Alnwick's the guy or Halverth's the guy or whatever, you think we should get someone else in, I think from a long-term point of view, the best thing for the manager to do is take Halverth out of the firing line for a couple of games, see how Alnwick does, let Halverth just get himself together a little bit, out of the pressure of a game. It's an international break. Like, take him out the firing line on Saturday and just let him get himself together over the international break. Do you know if Halverth has been selected for America in that break? I'll check now.
No, I'm not sure. So I imagine he would have been. I think Turner's the other keeper. There's 2 or 3 pretty good American keepers, isn't it?
I wonder whether we might send young Turner on loan, mate, because I know he's really highly rated. They gave him a new contract, but they also brought in Jake Dennis in the summer, who's another young keeper. So I just wonder whether they might send Turner out on loan to get actual games. But I don't know. I wasn't massively impressed with Dennis.
I think that was the other thing. That was the other point you said, Si, about the crossing against from the Jacks. I was really surprised. The guy that big, they were very easy crosses to take, weren't they? He wasn't under immense pressure against some 6'5" striker. You know, some of them were quite simple ones, really, and he just dropping the easy ones, and that tells you this guy, you know, his confidence is a low ebb, and obviously he's going to play against Borough on Saturday, isn't he? So we just hope that he can really have a really good game and he can crack on, like, you know, because it's a concern.
Indeed, mate. Let me ask you a question then, mate. What's your starting 11 versus Borough on Saturday, taking into account how Borough play and whatnot? Because they are. I've just been on the radio, mate, with someone from Borough, and they've got all sorts of defensive issues. They got injuries. Obviously, they lost 5-0 to Stoke. To me, we should be trying to get at them early, because if we score an early goal, they have the potential to just fall apart. So we've got to get at them early. But with that in mind, what would your 11 be?
We're playing them at the right time, side, because Borough were one of my favourites last year, and they start really slowly, and then obviously they got the semi-final Caribou Cup, and they were really close to going up. And I think this year they got 4 points from 3 games. They got a massive squad, some hugely talented players. But as you said, they're not firing on all cylinders at the moment. Obviously, had their reserves out against Stoke, but still, that was a big defeat. Kumas scored a very good goal there. But I'd play obviously that, you know, over goals. Personally, if it was me, I'd have Conte. But NG's going to play, isn't he? And then O'Dowda's going to play. Darlin's going to play, and he'll play. He'll play Chambers as well if he's fit, isn't he? Because Fish isn't just right. Siopis, will Siopis play with Robinson? You know, I'd like to see that. Or Ralsey's going to probably come back in. I want to see Colwill play. Can't see it happening again, Si. I'm not sure about Tanner as well, with the comments made by Bullet that he's going to be on the bench again. So obviously Willock's going to be on one wing. Miete, you know, I just don't want to see him in the first team again, Si. I'm sorry. I mean, I know. Obviously, there was some things in that game he did well, but he's not good enough for us to be a top 10 side. I've said it so many times. He's a squad player at best. I'm sorry, he mustn't play for us in the first team. You know, I just don't get it. And, you know, I'd rather see Tanner there or for the time being, and then obviously Robinson, you know, down the middle. But Kanga, you know, again, Kanga's hasn't hit the ground running. To me, again, he's a squad player. We've got to get
sorry for him, mate. I do
feel a little bit sorry because Yeah, it was a great shot against the Jacks. You know, he was an inch wide, wasn't he? That's all he had. But he hasn't done as much as we hope. I think he was offside against Burnley, wasn't he? So I think Robinson is the form guy for us. You know, and I think he's going to play down the middle. But I think there's a lot of questions at the moment at certain positions, and I just pray we get in that. Like you still talk about a striker, you know, we've got to get someone in who's high quality. And if that's Simic, obviously, as you said, he's highly rated, come from Salzburg, Croatian under-21, and obviously he's really talented. A number of clubs after him. If he's not going to be good enough for us at the moment, then obviously, as you said, the striker coming in is going to be number 9. He's going to be hitting the ground running. He's got to be quality. So, you know, I'm sort of like excited about it.
My hope is, mate, we bring. Well, Simic looks like it's pretty much done. My hope is, and this is just a hope, okay? I'm not saying it's going to happen. My hope is that we bring Simic in permanently, we loan him out, and then we go and sign Al Hamidi from Ipswich on a year's loan, because we look better with a mobile striker who can get in behind, like Robinson, than we do with a target man. Because all the players around them, we haven't got like someone with lightning pace, because we don't play the youngsters out wide. So we haven't got like someone who's going to put the afterburners on and really. I mean, Ollie Tanner's probably the closest to it, and he's not like lightning quick. So you need a striker who's going to get in, drop in short, and then spin in and go in behind for the likes of Colwill, Ramsey to find. And I think it works better. The reason I feel sorry for Kanga is he's clearly not fit. He's like, it's obvious he's not up to 100% fit, and he's still getting used to his teammates and the rest of it. I think he'd have benefited more coming on for 15, 20 minutes here and there so far, maybe getting a chance against a tired defence, then playing for an hour, because every time he plays for an hour, he doesn't score, his confidence drops a little bit, he gets a bit more frustrated. So whilst I understand getting minutes in him, I don't think it's doing him any favours from like strikers thrive on goals. And I think it's almost prolonging that initial period before he scores. Whereas I think if you give him 20 minutes, there's less pressure on him to score and do something. And we'd look better with Robinson through the middle anyway. It'll be interesting, mate, because we're definitely going to bring in at least the 2 strikers. And I still think we're going to bring a midfielder in. I said it when we were signing Robertson. Remember we had that little delay when Robertson was done, and then all of a sudden it just went quiet for like a week. And it was because we'd started talking to our first choice target again. And there was talk then that they were going to try and get Robertson and this other target in. And now that Wintel's gone out, I just wonder, mate, whether they might still try and get him. And you know who this is just pure guesswork on my part, by the way. It's nothing that I've been told. But I was like looking and I was trying to work out who it might be. And one person I came up with was Philip Billing from Bournemouth. Now, I don't think it's likely, but they are looking to move him on. And he's wicked. What a player he is. Like, you put him alongside Robertson in that midfield, and suddenly you're looking at that Cardiff's midfield and you're thinking, hang on a minute, there ain't many better than that on their day. But in terms of, I agree with you. Go on. I was just going to say, in terms of my team for Saturday, I think Rawls is injured. But because of the Middlesbrough side, assuming Rawls is injured, I would actually go with Ramsey and Robertson, and I would ask Ramsey to sit and just be a bit of a quarterback, intercept. He reads the game really well. I understand he's not 6, but I think his tools for the job. There'll be teams this year where we need Siopis to just go around like a little terrier, breaking play up and just laying it off and doing the dirty work. But Middlesbrough look to play football. They're not massively physical side. They've got players out. And I think if I'm Errol Bullet, I'm looking at how I can get Ruben Colwill starting on Saturday. Now, obviously, the obvious choice is to drop Aaron Ramsey. I don't think he wants to do that for a variety of reasons. one of which is loyalty and that. And I think also he thinks that he'll come good. So I think for this particular game, and I say this particular game because I actually don't think Aaron is the answer as a deeper midfielder, because I don't know if he's got the legs for it anymore. And I think over the season, we'll actually see Rawls play there alongside Robertson a lot. But for this game, I would have Ramsey sit. I'd have obviously Robertson. I'd have Ruben in the 10. I would play Keane Ashford on the right, and I would play Willock on the left. Unless he was going to say, right, I'm going to play Conte or Pacquiao left back and put O'Dowda up onto the left and then move Willock to the right. But I would try and get at Borough early. I would play Robinson through the middle, and I would play... I think I'd go with Keane Ashford, mate, because I think Tanner's a good shout off the bench. Keane did well last night. He's got pace. He's direct. Just tell him to play high and wide. Try and get NG to push up and help him. Ruben in the pockets. But also, Ruben and Keane link up really, really well. And what Keane does is he doesn't cut inside as much as some of the others. So he doesn't condense the space that Ruben is trying to work in. So actually him and NG on the right can work quite well. I also think by having Ramsey in the 6 or as sitter, when Perry NG sort of inverts or pushes into the midfield like he does, it allows O'Dowda to push up wide. It allows Robertson to push up and arrive late. So the whole kind of unit, if you like, I think becomes a bit more effective for this game. I will caveat that because I don't think Aaron Ramsey should be playing in a 2 week in, week out. But I think for particular games, it can work.
Yeah.
You having any of that, mate?
Well, I agree with a number of the players you said. I just don't see, like you said, Ramsey with Robertson. I think you need someone with legs. I mean, that's the thing. You're playing if you're playing the 3 at the back, say Fish, Chambers, and Darland, you could play Ramsey because then he's the quarterback. But I do worry that when you're playing a back 4, you really are struggling because you need legs in there. So I don't know whether that would work. I see Middlesbrough last season down, Simon. They are a quality side on their day. They could absolutely destroy us. At the moment, they're not fully confident, and that's the best. I mean, like when we played Sunderland, it was the worst possible time to play Sunderland because Jack Clark, who's, as I said, the best Championship left winger, played against us, scored, set the other one up, and now he's gone for 15 million. So every other team in the Championship is not going to play him. And if we had not played him, it could have been a different ball game. So and that's the problem, isn't it? It's luck as well. When you're playing at Middlesbrough, probably after 8 games, they'll be flying. They'll be winning 3-4-0. But it is a good time to play us. And we need this win desperately, I think, before the international break, just to build that confidence. It's not an easy game at all. There aren't been any. There's no easy games, are there? But, I would have preferred someone like a Plymouth home or something, but it doesn't. And after the international break, I think we got Leeds, so we've been, hard done by with a lot of these teams we're playing early on. But, I Keane Ashford again, he just got pushed off the ball a few times. So he wasn't that strong at certain times. It's just my view of last night watching it. I wasn't overly impressed with him. But, it is an issue at the moment because Miete doesn't do it for me at all. Shouldn't be in the first team at the end of it, and I just hope that come Saturday, we've got some younger, fresher player who's going to offer something different. So,
as you know, I've been banging the drum now for a good few weeks, probably longer, that we should revert to a different formation to suit the players we've got. So I'm going to say it one more time for all the new viewers. In my opinion, we should play 3 centre-backs. So, for instance, against Middlesbrough, I would play Darland, Chambers, and NG as a 3. And I would play Conte right wing-back, O'Dowda left wing-back, and then I would basically play a 3-4-3 sort of thing. So it would be those 3, those wing-backs. Then I'd have Robertson, probably Siopis for this game then, if we're playing that system. And then I would have Willock and Ruben playing off Robinson or Kanga, because what it does is the young players give you the width and the pace out wide. You've got the solidity of the three centre-backs, which suits them because they're all ball-playing centre-backs, apart from, obviously, Gutas, who wouldn't be in the side. You've got Robertson and for the legs and the quality and the distribution. You Siopis for the work rate, who will sit in front of the three. And then you have the creativity of Willock and Colwill behind the striker, but they haven't got inverted wingers coming in and closing the space. So they've got plenty of space to link up, play little triangles. And then if you bring Ramsey on, he can play either in one of the 10s. He can play a bit deeper in that system. You can play, Tanner can play wing back. You can play Kanga as the striker. It suits all the players. But Bullet, and the reason I keep referring back to it is because when Bullet was in Turkey, he used it a lot. And I don't understand why he's not using it now. However, I do agree with what CCFC said, that he's not going to do it at the time being. He might do it after the international break. That would probably be the time to change it, because he'll have a bit of time to work with it. He uses it, and that's the thing, he often uses it in the EFL Cup as well. So he does use it. He just doesn't seem to want to use it with the first team. It'll be interesting what he does. Personally, I don't think he'll change a great deal. I think Siopis will play. I think Robertson will play. I think Ramsey will start. I think the only way Ruben starts on Saturday is if he starts him off the right. Personally, I'd start him off the left, and put Willock over to the right. But if he was going to do that, but I think he'll probably start Mate, and I think Ruben will be on the bench. And I think, unfortunately, what this is doing, it's a bit like last year, is when people see the side an hour before kickoff, there's almost already like a little bit of negativity because people are frustrated. Everybody thinks that Ruben Colwill should be started. Even people who aren't the biggest fans of him or don't rate him, say as highly as someone like I do, like I rate him and I think we should build the side around him. Other people don't think maybe he's that guy. But even they're saying he's got to start. Like the form he's in, the work he's doing, there's no reason to not start him, especially then when you're starting Mate on the right, who offers absolutely sweet FA. Going forward, but he offers nothing, mate. He works. Yeah. Well, he doesn't even work that hard. Like he offers nothing for me. Yeah. I hope he starts Robinson up front, because especially at home, and Middlesbrough lacking in a bit of confidence, injuries at the back. Let's get at him early. Yeah. Get the crowd behind you. But so Martin, I just want to address this, man. Go and get your opinion on it, because I know you didn't think he was going to drop Gutas, did you, or Siopis? He obviously dropped Gutas last weekend. Martin says he's too stubborn to change things, and he also says he's got too many favourites. I think maybe I'm being too optimistic, but I think that him dropping Gutas is a good sign, because that means that he's looking at it as a whole and he's trying to work out the best team each week to beat whoever we're playing, instead of going, well, Halver's my keeper, Gutas is my centre-back, Siopis is my central midfielder. Hopefully he's going to pick players on form and performance, because if he does that, that's how you get momentum, by picking form players. I love Aaron Ramsey. He's one of my favourite Welsh players of all time. He's not really doing it at the moment. So would he be better off the bench for the time being, just for the team? I don't know. But he's got to make these decisions. I mean, but yeah, like Martin just said, how could you not drop Gutas after his performance against Burnley? But, he's stuck with Halverth. And I would argue Halverth was just as bad as Gutas in the same game. What do you think, mate? Were you surprised he did drop Gutas?
Well, I was the same side, because he played 46 games last season. So he's obviously he is Bullet's man. So I don't think Bullet is stubborn. Bullet knows that this is his team. Last season, it wasn't his team. He's now creating his team. If he fails, it's on him. It's not on anyone else. We had the excuses last year. It wasn't his fault. He took over a team which were bang average, got them as high as anyone realistically could get us. No one realistically thought we could be top 6. he saved us from, bearing in mind the season before we nearly went down. So Bullet last season, I think, exceeded my expectations, bearing in mind the type of squad we got. This season, he's bringing in 6-7 players. It's his team that's been built. I know Turnbull's not his player. That's another argument. He's not involved as he's injured now. So it's up to if he doesn't get it right, it's all on Bullet. So that's why he's dropped Gutas. He's got Garland, he's signed Garland, who knows is a better player. He's a natural left-sided player. So, there's no issue. If Siopis doesn't play well, he's going to be dropped. There is no question that Bullet is going to play his best possible side.
Indeed.
But in saying that, Miete, I don't know. I just think maybe because he's got Willock, who obviously is a step up on bowler, the reality is that Miete is the issue for me. Most of the players, and I agree with Ramsey as well. I just think Ramsey doesn't do enough for me. He's done everything in his career. I still don't get why he's continuing playing. I just think Ramsey, he loves football, obviously. I just feel that, Colwill should be in there every week now and let him in the position, where, like you said, he's getting the position. He's not doing too much defensive work because, he can produce things. He can score goals. We just need to play him for 5-6 games, see what happens, because 100 games now, Si, I just think he's got to be in that side.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Colwill, he looks like a player who, if you give him a bit of momentum and let him build that momentum, he will come good and he will create things. Apparently, Turnbull is fit for Saturday. Just very quickly before I finish up, a lot of people criticising Siopis. I agree with him. I agree with people. Like, his distribution has been crazy bad this season. But I think what he needs to do is simplify what he does. Because the defensive side of his game, I think, is pretty good. Certainly when he's at his best, he's one of the better defensive midfielders in the league. Like, out and out, just destroyer, cuts out play. And what he needs to do is just break up play, cover the fullbacks when they go forward, like he does quite well, and then just sort of control that space. But when he wins the ball back, he just needs to give it to Robertson, give it to Darland, give it to Ramsey, whoever, not try these Hollywood 40-yard passes across field, because that's not him. That's not his game. It's not what he's good at, and he's not what he's in the side for. And unfortunately, when he's trying those passes, he's losing the ball and he's putting us under pressure. Whereas if he just did the simple things, win the ball, give it to someone else, I think he can be a massive asset, particularly in the midfield of Robertson and Ruben, because Siopis does win the ball he'll go and win it on the halfway line. And then if you can feed Ruben Colwill then on the break, he's going to create. Mate, I've got to cut us off now. I've got to go. I'm live with Rhodri now in 5 minutes. Pan, it's been a great, enjoyable show, mate. Thank you very much. You've got a video coming out on Wales, I believe, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, the Wales squad's been announced, obviously, for the games against Turkey, Montenegro side. So I've gone through the whole squad, and so that'll be on soon. So tune in, guys. Yeah,
media, spot on. Everybody needs to stop moaning and get behind the team. Like, we're always going to talk about performances and football and stuff like that. I'm super, super positive about this season, and I stand by exactly what I said at the start of the season. We'll be there or thereabouts for the playoffs. I think Bullet's building a really strong squad, and we've made some really intelligent signings, and I think we're in for an exciting 24 hours as Cardiff City fans as well, in terms of ins. So take care. I'll be back tomorrow with Middlesbrough fans to preview the game, and we'll have Pan's Welsh video out over the weekend as well as the boys on Saturday, and we'll have a breakfast show on Sunday, I think, as well as the breakdown. So keep it locked to Cardiff City World, and if you want to talk some more football, join me and Rhodri Giggs on Ace Podcast Nation in about 5 to 10 minutes. Nice one.